All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Friends, colleagues, peers, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Happy Wednesday. I was saying earlier that I don't know how to feel. Like it's not the beginning of the week and it's not the end of the week. So I'm like kind of stuck in the middle. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Grab your lunch, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable. I'm going to be talking for a long while. So you'll see me randomly grab sips of water, grab a drink, grab a bite to like munch on really quick. When I talk for too long, like my voice will get really sore. So just bear with me. Welcome everyone to the call and everyone that's watching on our recording to our 2023 Resilient Communities Spring Grant Cycle Q&A. I see some familiar faces, some really wonderful people on here today, and I'm honored that you can join me. I'd like to acknowledge each of you and thank you for committing time and energy to building, rebuilding, and supporting our community. I'd like to say that you are all the heartbeat of our community, and we at the Community Foundation, we appreciate you very much for what you do. I'd also like to acknowledge our staff, whatever staff is on the call, especially Madeline. As I was saying, Madeline is our backbone and things don't seem to work properly when she's not around. So thanks to Madeline for your support today. George, our CEO, couldn't be here with us today. He is at a Rotary Club meeting, but he does send his well wishes. Today, there'll be a ton of information shared, a ton of information coming your way, so don't be alarmed or annoyed. You can always go back and watch the recording later. Some housekeeping rules and guidelines, I like to call it. So please keep yourselves on mute when you're not speaking. Please be respectful and kind to everyone. No judgment, and there's no such thing as a silly question. And as you come up with questions, I'm okay with you writing them in the chat. So as I'm covering things and something comes up, please write them in the chat, and then we'll be sure to answer your questions later on. So who is Gloria? Who is this bubbly person in front of you talking? Well, most of you know me as a community organizer and an advocate. And you're right. And most recently in my current role as Chief Inclusion and Community Engagement Officer. How did I get here though? So it's definitely wasn't by chance. I've dedicated my life to help encourage, motivate, and support everyone that's around me. That includes my family, my peers, my community, literally everyone's around me. It's in the fabric of who I am, and it's also how I was raised. I am the fourth daughter of the fourth and the best, I have to say. Daughter of two Haitian immigrants who moved to Rockland County from Haiti to New York in search of American dream. I grew up in Rockland County with three older sisters. I value human life and I value the opportunity to serve. I've been a servant leader as far back as I could remember. I'd say I was advocating for free snacks, I think back in like first grade. So I was really serious back then. I look for gaps in systems and ways to impact the lives of others in a positive way. In 1997, I graduated from high school and went off to the University of Maryland, go Terrapins, to become a doctor. And so I thought, and organic chemistry changed my mind rather quickly. So fast forwarding to 2011, I found myself in Orlando and in love, got pregnant, and then made my way to Cornell to pursue a dual master's degree in health administration and public administration. So I had some health issues. I lost my mom. I lost my grandmother. I struggled with depression, and I suffered at the hands of institutional bias, structural racism, and human rights violations. And this is what awakened something in me that was fueled by everything equity related. I graduated in 2019 and immersed myself quickly into this wonderful and beautiful community. Oops. No, there we go. Technical, I'm gonna just leave it right there. But if things just happen and pop up and scroll through, I ask you for grace in advance. So prior to this role, and some of you know me in my role as the Community Engagement Director for the Ithaca Lead Program, I worked alongside Travis Brooks of GIAC. He and I built the framework for the organization, and we built the project together. So I started serving as the very first Chief Inclusion and Community Engagement Officer in June, this past June. And I'm happy to report that it's been a wild ride. There's been some ups and downs, lots of learning and adjusting. One thing that I'm tasked with in my role is to instill trust, change, and resources in our community. And as it relates to DEI, I am happy to report that our organization, the Community Foundation, is working towards systemic change with the restructuring of our organization. Some key values that drive the work that we do with the foundation are engagement, integrity, racial equity, relationships, and social justice. The one thing that we value most is being community-driven. Great foundations take programmatic approaches that seek to bring about the foundation's mission through systemic changes and through addressing the root causes of the challenges at hand. I'd like to say that George Ferrari, our CEO, he takes very seriously his role and commitment to serve you all and to support Tompkins County. Our mission here, as you're reading it, was recently adjusted to reflect the work that we're doing at the Community Foundation related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and racial justice. So we've made this declaration and we've made this commitment, and we are now currently infusing this work into our strategic plan. See, I told you don't judge me. There we go. I really, really like this infographic here. It shows metrics that summarizes grants for a 4-year period. It's time for an updated one because it goes from 2018 to 2021. But this is still very much relevant. Our social justice strategies that you see at the top left is divided into 4 buckets or 4 categories. The largest bucket is racial justice, then rural services, and then it trickles on down to resource equity. So you can see that 80% of our grant making between 2018 and 2021 fell within those 4 buckets, which make up our social justice strategy, which totaled $6.4 million. That's a lot of money. 11% of it was directly related to racial justice. All right. There are 3 main grant cycles. There's the library grant cycle, which is currently closed. I believe it closed last week. The library grant cycle is only for our 33 libraries in the Finger Lakes Library System. It is no longer a cycle that I champion and I cover. So we are actually, we've hired a consultant. Her name is Suzanne Jablonski, and she's taking care of our library grant cycle. So the fall grant cycle and the spring grant cycle falls under my purview. So if you have needs that are outside of these cycles, there's still a way to get funding. There are ways for us to match your needs with donor advised funds and special interest funds. A great example that I'd like to use, most recently in December, the Downtown Ithaca Child Care Center had a boiler that broke down. They reached out to us and we were able to fulfill that request, I'd say within 24 hours. And Megan, the executive director there, was very, very grateful for that. If you've received funding from the Community Foundation in the spring of 2022, you have a grant report that is due. Guess when? It's due today. It is due today at 5 p.m. To access this report, you'll need to refer back to the email that I sent a couple weeks ago, or connect with me after this session, and then we will get you squared away with your report. You do need to submit your report in order to apply for this grant cycle. The application will go live later on this afternoon, or perhaps early evening after this recording is posted. Our grants range from $500 to $10,000. We believe very, very strongly in granting unrestricted funds. Organizations have appreciated our recent shift to granting unrestricted dollars. It's a trend that is a best practice in philanthropy in the grant making field. So there's no more program specific money. This allows you, the organizations that know your communities and know your needs, it allows you to be flexible, and it allows you to pivot when necessary. So we'd like to emphasize that we don't sit at a table and glance over your application and decide if you'll get funded based on the font that you use or if you stayed within the character limit. We have an entire, well thought out, intentional grant review process, and it's fueled by your peers, your colleagues, your friends, people that you might be sitting next to right now, people that you see in these little Zoom boxes. Applications are assessed through a variety of tools and the use of a scoring rubric, especially. Some things that our review teams look at are, is your organization effectively meeting your goals? Are you communicating well? Are you talking about things that you've learned and how you're pivoting, how you're adjusting? Are you flexible? Is there clear evidence of collaboration? Are you working with organizations that have, that values align with your own? They also take a look at organizational capacity and sustainability. Our fall review team, our fall grant cycle review team was my first grant cycle review team, and it was the most colorful, literally and figuratively, the most diverse in age, ranging from 25 to 83, and I'd like to say the most effective. So we're actively recruiting for review teams, and you can access the application at our website and the link that is right in front of you. And Madeline, would you mind putting that link in the chat, please, if you can?
I have it.
Awesome. Thank you. We do something called matchmaking, and that's a way to magnify philanthropy. We do have additional support to offer where we look for alignment based on your request, areas ranging from aging to hunger to community planning and design. It also allows our donor advisors to take part in our grant cycles. So it also allows us to fill gaps in funding when we don't have enough funding, because of course we're restricted. We don't have an unlimited amount of funding, but we're able to fill gaps with these donor advised funds and with our special interest funds. We share summaries of your application with our fund advisors, then they'll reach out to us if they're interested in funding any of your applications. Application questions will be available for download online, and it'll also be available for download into a PDF on our online portal. And that will also be available on our website this evening. And I'll go through, at the end of this presentation, I'll go through our online portal, how to access it, and how to create your profile, and also how to download the questions. We've made a diversity, equity, inclusion statement on our application. It's the same as last year, if for anyone who applied in the fall. And I encourage you all to read it fully and really understand what we are trying to lean into as a philanthropic organization. We believe that we can do so much more to promote and embrace DEI, as well as support you to advance your DEI principles at your organization and at your agency. So we have embedded very, very specific DEIJ questions within the application. And we believe your answers will help us understand whether organizations that we fund are diverse, whether they are inclusive, and if our grants help to decrease disparities and support equity. It also helps us know which demographics and groups need more support, which demographic groups are asking for support, and trying to find where the need is. We're being very, very intentional as we collect more DEI related grant making data to address community issues. So we listened to you. So we've realigned the DEI questions and we decreased the bearing on your overall scores. In your post application evaluations, it was clear that we as an organization have to be flexible. We need to adjust. So we adjusted our strategy and realized that we have to ease our way into asking you the right questions. So some of the questions are the same. We've removed some questions and we've made some adjustments. And that's why it's important to do your post application evaluation so that we know what we did right, what was comfortable, what was frustrating, how we can improve our process. Very, very, very important for you to fill these out so that we can do better. So what is new? We removed a huge barrier for some smaller grassroots organizations. And this came up in our community engagement committee meeting. We got rid of the financial Excel spreadsheet. Can I get a hand clap or something? Can I get some? So we got rid of that spreadsheet. I don't know if you all remember, you had to download a spreadsheet and then you had to do 3 years of numbers. And then you had to upload it. And there was just a lot of questions behind it. And our community engagement committee said, you know what, that's a huge barrier. And so we've made the decision to do away with it. So literally all we ask you is what your budgeted revenue is, what your budgeted expenses are. And we want to know where your other sources of income are coming from in paragraph form, not in Excel spreadsheet form, and nothing else. We've also, which is new, added the opportunity to meet with me one-on-one to collaborate, to talk about any questions that you might have. It's like an information sharing meeting. And then the second type of collaboration or event, I guess, is to review your application. And if we're doing that type of event, you'd have to send to me prior to our meeting, 1 week prior to our meeting, you'd have to send your application. So at that meeting, you and I can talk about any feedback, any critique that I might have, how to make your application stronger. So that also will be available on our website later today. If you got our newsletter just recently sent, the link to that is also there as well. So right now, I am going to take you through our online portal. I'm gonna log in. Let's see. All right, again, let's see. I'm asking you to give me grace here as I figure out. All right. Okay, so before we do the online portal, just really quickly, I'm going to go through our grant guidelines. Okay, figure out. Oh man. Okay. Madeline, I need to make this PDF big. I don't know how to make it big. Okay, wait, let's see.
Where is it located on?
It's on my desktop, but so what I'll do is I will share screen, but you'll see it won't be in presentation mode. I'm not sure how to. That's okay. That is okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that? Perfect. All right. So these guidelines will be posted on our website. We'll make it available on our application as well. So the guidelines, as well as this video recording, we will make live links on your application so that you can refer to. So I'll go through really quickly. We have listed our mission, vision, and our values. We talk about our grant making philosophy, what goes behind our grant making, what's our thought process. Here's some important dates to know. Our application due date is April 5th. You'll receive funding notifications sometime in mid-May. I don't like to give exact dates because on that date to the minute, I will get emails, texts, and phone calls asking me about their funding notifications. So again, we ask that you give us grace as we go through our intense, very rigorous review process, and give us a little bit of time. But mid-May is when you'll find out from us, anywhere between the 15th to like the 19th. And now watch me get calls on the 15th to the minute, but that's okay because I love you all anyway. A little bit about our donor advised funds, our field of interest funds, and our designated funds here. Important tips for a strong grant application. There's lots and lots of different advice that you may get. You can look online for ways to strengthen your application, but there are 5 really important ones here that are, and I can't stress, that are very, very, very important. You want to confirm that your application falls within all the guidelines. So everything that is listed below that we'll go through, but that's very first and foremost. Complete the application as if the reader is unfamiliar with your organization. So you want to pretend like whomever is reading your application had no idea that you existed. They don't know about the work that you do. They don't know about your mission. They don't know about you at all. So you want to write your application that way. You want to have someone else read your final draft. So it can be me. It can be a coworker, a peer. It can be your executive director, anyone. You want to know if this application appropriately communicates all the necessary information to the reader. Are you getting your point across? Please contact us with questions about completing your application 1 week prior to the due date, please. not an hour before it's due, not the day before it's due. And I realize life happens, a lot of things happen. So there might be times or instances where, something happens and you might need an extension. Like, we're definitely flexible in that way. But if there is if there's like a dire need or a circumstance that needs to be addressed immediately, we will take everything as it comes. But please do your best to come with your applications already ready with your questions a week in advance. Don't wait until the due date to complete the application, as questions may arise, and you want to have plenty of time for correspondence with me or correspondence with Madeline. A few things that review teams will focus on: is your application complete and meeting all of our guidelines? Are the sources of your support clearly identified? As I said, are you getting your point across? Are your goals effectively set and reasonable in service to your mission? Are you communication? I can't speak today. Are you actively and effectively communicating with the population that you're serving? Are you effectively adapting to your services? Are you flexible with your services to meet the community needs? Is there clear evidence of collaboration, sharing, and planning across organizations in service with overall improved outcomes? Are you collaborating with organizations that share your same values? And most importantly, are you contributing to racial equity in your services and service outcomes? So we talk a little bit about what we did discuss earlier about filling in the gaps with donor advised funds and designated funds. We talk a little bit about that. And here are our guidelines. Applications must be completed and submitted through the online portal by April 5th at 5 p.m. Late applications will not be accepted, and that's just like an umbrella guideline. But again, we are flexible. If things come up and you need an extension, we will work with you. So the link to the application is going to be found at our website at www.cftompkins.org. That will be live within a few hours. The grant award must be used within 12 months of receiving the grant. And again, this is a blanket statement. It's a blanket guideline. We do realize that you do have to pivot. Things can come up. You may not have used all of your grant. And again, we will deal with that as that comes along. Recipients are required to submit a final report. We actually have a date for next year, April 2nd, 2024. That will affect your eligibility to apply for the grant cycle following that deadline. So it's usually the day of. So our grant cycle opens today, and your grant report from last year is due today. So we'll keep that trend going for the next years moving forward. So make sure that you get your grant report to us by April 2nd next year. So of course, that means that April 2nd of next year, we will have another Q&A and an info session. Grantees must be a nonprofit organization or equivalent. If you're not a 501c3 organization, there are ways that you can apply, but with a fiscal sponsor. You do need to have a fiscal sponsor with an EIN number who is eligible, and they are a 501c3 in order to apply. So if you've gotten previous funding, that's okay. And previous funding doesn't guarantee continued funding. So just because you got funding last year or in the fall, it doesn't guarantee that you'll get funded again. Applications meeting the requirements will be evaluated by a review team with final approval by the Community Foundation Board of Directors. So once you've submitted your application, it goes through our review team process. And then after that, the review team recommends funding, and the Community Foundation Board of Directors makes the final decision. They approve all of the funding recommendations by the review teams. So application procedures. To access the application, you'll go to our website, www.cftompkins.org, or you can go to this cool bit.ly that I created. So it's bit.ly/2023 spring grant. That's a short link to our grant platform. And again, it won't be active. Don't try to go there now because you're not going to find anything. But it will be active later on this afternoon, possibly early evening. So all users, so everyone on this call and everyone watching the video, everyone is a new user because this is a completely new grant platform. We are using what they call Foundant. So I've been getting lots of emails about, creating a new user profile. And most of you are already familiar with Community Force. That's where all of your old information lives. So all of your old applications, all of your old information, all of that is in Community Force, but we've moved away from that. We've done a big data migration, and we are now using the online portal Foundant. If you are neurodivergent, if you need help with this application, if you need an application in another language, please email me at gkwaku@cftompkins.org or call us in the office and Madeline will direct you to me. With any technical questions related to your application, that will go to Madeline, our superstar, who we can't be without, at admin@cftompkins.org. So we want you to know and understand, we can't stress this enough, that we acknowledge and we honor the work that you do. We appreciate you so much. We see you, we feel you, and we are here to support you in any way. I hope that that is evident with my communications to you, with things that come from our office, with talking to us every day. Please know that your work is part of the fabric and the breath of our community. We appreciate you very, very much. Also in the grant guidelines is frequently asked questions. I won't go through all of these. Like I said, this will be accessible to you on our website and also in the grant application. So it will be connected to the application via a live link. So I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to go to the online portal and show you what that looks like. Let's see. We'll stop that. Okay. Let me share screen. Okay. Can we see my screen? Madeline, we're good? Oh, yes. I'm doing good. Okay, so this is our home screen. Here is our nice little greeting. If you are a new user, it gives you instructions. And then when you come back as an existing user, it gives you instructions here as well. If you're not sure or you don't even know what's going on, just give us a call or an email and then we'll figure it out with you. So what we'll do is I'm going to take you through creating a new account. So we'll go to create a new account. And this is the screen that you'll be taken to, create new account. So organization name, we're just going to say test organization. If you are a 501c3 organization, this is where you will include your EIN number. If you are not, so this is where you will put your you will add your zeros. So they tell you what to do here. It's 2 zeros and 3, 6, 7 zeros afterwards. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And just so you know, everything that is starred is required. So it won't let you move past the question if you haven't answered it, if it's starred. So it says the EIN already exists. Please contact the administrator. But if you're fiscally sponsored, disregard this message. So you'll be getting this if you are not a 501c3 organization. That is fine. So you'll need to add your telephone number. You need an address. You need a city. And your postal code. State. Okay. And then you'll hit next. And just because it's starred, that means it's required, but we would still like to know this optional information here. So we'd like to know your website and we'd like to know your organization email. Okay. And then it takes you to user information. So up top is the organization information, and this is your information. So first name, your title, we'll say C, inclusion, chief engagement officer, and your email. So we'll do test.com. See, I try to be slick and do a copy paste. It won't even allow me to do that. So you have to retype your email and want your phone number. And this is your personal phone number, not the, or if you have a personal or direct extension. You'll do copy address from organization. You'll hit next. Executive officer question. So it'll ask you, are you the organization's executive officer or executive director? So you're either going to hit yes or no. Now, if you hit no, it's going to take you to a screen where you can put the information for the executive director. But for here, for this purpose, I will just hit yes. And then we'll hit next. And then it'll ask you for your mobile number again for confirmation. I'm not exactly sure why, but it does. And then it tells you to create your password. So for this, I'm going to say test application. And not to worry, if you forgot your password for whatever reason, there is a forgot password link that you can use. And additionally, if you have trouble or issues with that, you can just reach out to us and then we can reset your password. Okay, so this question here, it'll ask you if you received the confirmation email just to make sure that you would get all system related emails. So you'll just click I have received, or if you didn't, you'll say I have not received, and then it'll troubleshoot. But I'm just going to say I've received your email, and then we'll continue. Okay, so this is your dashboard, and this right here is what's live right now. It's the 2022 Spring Grant Cycle Grant Report. So if you're an organization that did receive a grant from us last year, so that's Spring 2022 Grant Cycle, this is where you will apply and then submit your grant report that way. The application will be on the same dashboard and it'll look exactly the same, except it'll say 2023 Resilient Communities Spring Grant Cycle Application. So it'll look exactly like this, and then you will hit apply. So one way for you to get the list of questions, you can hit preview. So now we're talking about this being the grant cycle application. You will go to preview. And then it will list all of the questions for you ahead of time. So these are the questions for the grant report. But later on today, like I said, the link will be live for the application. And then to print it out, you'll just go to questions list. And then it'll go to a PDF that you can download. So that way you can get your, oops. Oh, all right. So that is the way for you to get to your questions list. So I am going to stop share. Okay, let me exit out of here. Okay, so now we have about 15 minutes. Oh, I did pretty good. I thought I would go way, way, way over. We have about 15 minutes for questions. Let's see, Madeline, can you go through the chat questions? I haven't checked the chat yet.
There's no questions as of yet.
Oh, come on, y'all need to do better than that. Give me some questions. Come on, challenge us. Challenge us, because you know the first thing that I'm going to ask when I get an email, text, or phone call, I'm going to say, were you on the Q&A call? And then I'm going to say, when there is an opportunity to ask questions, did you ask questions? So it's good to ask questions in this way because 99.9% of the time, there's someone else that is thinking about the same question. So that way everyone can hear the question and then everyone will hear the answer as well.
Well, Allie had a question. What is the meaning of life?
Allie.
You know, I have to email you something.
Allie, you're one of my favorite people. Okay. I am still trying to figure out that question. That is an age-old question that we ask ourselves literally every day. So when you find out the answer to that question, Allie, you and I will connect. Make sure you make an appointment with me though. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead and write your questions in the chat. And then
I
we'll
see
go
Jessica
from there.
has her hand up, or I'm
Nope.
sorry, just me.
Okay.
Is it okay to just ask my question?
Yeah. Yep. Go right ahead.
I was just wondering if you could give some examples of different projects and stuff that people have done to get these grants, because I always like to hear just different ideas that are out there and think about what we can do in our program.
Oh, man. So we have gone away from project-based funding. Not that we're not interested in your projects or what you're going to do with the money, but it's called trust-based philanthropy. So we are trusting you to know where the need is and what you need to do with the money. We understand that things happen, and this was in the after effect of COVID, right? Because nobody knew what was going on with COVID. There's been so many, pivots and changes, and organizations are going away and then they're coming back, and then organizations are sprouting up. So there's so many different things going on. It's not that we don't want to know, but that's not really what we're focusing on. So we'd like to focus on community impact. How are you impacting the community? How are you meeting your goals? All of the things that is in our grant guidelines. So everything there, make sure that you are adhering to, like literally to the T. We're like giving you all the answers. We're helping you cheat on this test. We're giving you all of the answers. So use the guidelines. So again, it's not that we're not interested in your projects and your programs. We will fund you as long as you meet all of our grant guidelines. One thing that I like to tell people is your application should come alive to us based on your answers, your stories, the content that you provide. Realize that the people looking at your application are people. We're humans. So we like to be moved. We love stories. We love stories and we love metrics. So if you can say something like, we have increased capacity by 85%, and then you would define what capacity means to you, because capacity is different to every organization. You can say things like, we've hired 3 more FTEs, or we were able to, increase youth programming by 50%, or we like metrics. So include all of those things in your applications and let it come alive. So just mean, thank you for your question, but it's not project-based work that we're interested in.
Gloria, I have a question from Judy.
Okay.
If our nonprofit organization does not have a CEO, should we just enter the board president in that area of the application?
So if there is no CEO and no executive director, yes, that would be the next level, the board president, yes.
I have
Was that
another-
Judy? That answered the question, Judy Ward? Judy, say hi to me.
Hey, Gloria. Thank you for
Hi.
answering. That was indeed my question. And you caught me with a mouthful of broccoli, so
Oh, it's all good. Judy, you're the best. I love you.
thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question from Stephen Manley. How often does the foundation respond to a request with a partial fulfillment? Is this a regular practice, or if so, is it guided by a specific percentage?
So let me see if I can find our infographic that'll show you the breakdown of our fall grant cycle. So just give me a second to look for this, because it'll be a visual answer to your question. And I know that it's in here. Let's see. Okay. You. Post. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Oop. Can you all see this? I want to make sure can everyone see this? Yes, okay. So this is an overview of the fall of last year. It's going to change every grant cycle. So 85% of our applications were funded, whether it was fully funded or partially funded. 38% of applications were fully funded. So 100% funded based on their request. 65% of our applications were funded above 50% of the request. So there is no algorithm that we have to deciding funding. There is a ton of factors. So review teams go in and they review your applications based on a scoring rubric. based on, the merit and the content of your answers, looking at how you're answering your questions. Are you answering them completely and fully? Or, for example, if we're asking, and this is not an actual question, but if we're asking the make and model of your car and you're telling us the color of the sky, so we want to make sure that you're answering our questions. So they look at all of those things. And again, I'll ask you to refer to the guidelines. So also within the review team process, you'll be getting a phone call from one of our review team members who's been assigned as your organization. So they will call you, they'll email you, and they'll schedule a time for you to connect. It can be in person or it can be via Zoom. That's something that you guys can decide. But it's a quick, 30-minute conversation that you have where you're able to connect with us, because that person is your liaison to the review team. So you, at that meeting, you'll include any information that either you forgot to include or information that you really want to emphasize. The lead reviewer may have questions for you about your application, and that's where you discuss those things. So that conversation will come back to the review team, and then that information would be discussed along with your application. So all of that happens within the review team meetings. And then at that point, the review team will vote on funding. So they'll vote either to fully fund or to partially fund your application. So these recommendations come into us all at once. And then at the end of that phase, our leadership team will come together along with the facilitators of all the review teams, and we'll talk about all of these things. So we'll look at the funding recommendations from the review teams. We'll look at our pot of money. We'll look at what's available from our donor advised funds, from our special interest funds, from designated funds. We'll look at all of those things, and then we'll kind of back into funding decisions. Not all applications can be funded at 100%. So last year we had, and this was in the fall, I think the requests totaled about 600,000. It was like 500 and something $1,000, and we were only able to award 310,000. So a lot of factors go into making these funding level decisions. We're not sitting around at a table saying, oh, I like this organization, or, oh, I think this person is cool, or, oh, it's none of that. We have a rigorous and intense review team process that provides funding recommendations. We look at those recommendations, and then we also look at a bunch of other factors as well. So again, there's no scientific answer. There's no algorithm. There's lots and lots of factors that go into it. And again, we'd love to see everyone fully funded. However, that's not something that we have the capacity to do right now. So I'm hoping that answers your question, Stephen.
Gloria, may I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely, Anne.
Yeah, I'm development chair for Love Living at Home, and on the board also, vice president of the board. Anyway, yeah, Cheryl could not make it. She will watch the video, but I've been to many of these before. I was curious how the donor advised funds specify what they would like to give to given, where do they come into this equation with your review team, or into this process with your review team? And for example, out of that 310K, approximately how much would be from donor advised funds, and do they determine where it goes? I guess as long as your review process has given a thumbs up. Is that the way it works?
So it's not linear. It's not a linear thing. So it's kind of happening in tandem. So what we'll do is, and in this new platform, hopefully, because we're still in the migration phase, so in this new platform, we are hoping that donor advisors can go into the applications and then decide which ones they'd like to fund that way. So that's hopeful. But
Right.
what we do historically, and what we might possibly do again, depending on if Fountain is ready, we will send over brief and concise applications. So of each of the organizations. So they'll get a huge spreadsheet, and then it'll outline priority areas. It'll give a description, and then maybe, answers to one or two questions, like your story that you share will be shared with the donor advisors. So they'll take a quick glance at, all of these, and there's usually about between 50 and 60 applications. They'll take a quick glance, and then they'll say, okay, I want to fund this one at this level, fund this at this level, fund that at that level, fund this fully, and so on and so forth. So as we get those funding recommendations, that decreases the amounts that our expendable fund can fund to you. So for example, if a donor advisor says, hey, I want to fund Love Living at Home $5,000, and that would decrease your amount to $5,000 from our expendable funds.
Right.
So we do our best to get you at your 100%.
Yeah,
And again,
balance.
and again, it's done in tandem together.
Okay.
Sometimes we get funding requests way, way late, where we've already made our recommendation from our expendable fund, and then a donor advisor comes in and says, I want to fund $20,000. So that particular organization would be above their request.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of technicalities and a lot that goes into this funding thing that I'm still learning.
Yeah, well, let's
Because
hope
honestly,
your new system works for you.
yeah, let's hope the new system works. But I'm still learning all of this. I've been here since June, and I've had one grant cycle so far. So this grant cycle would, kind of help me really lean into all of this and best practices, and look at different ways to do things that doesn't make us pull our hair out. I hope that answers your question, Anne. All right, we'll take one more question. We're 2 minutes over time. I apologize if you need to hop off, go ahead and hop off, but we'll take one more question.
Okay, I think we might have answered Robin Elliott's question in regards to if we have a need for greater than 10,000, is it possible to receive a grant through the spring cycle as well as additional donor advised fund support?
Yes, so if there is a greater need for, and this is for on an individual case by case. So our blanket umbrella guideline is $10,000. So you can ask between $500 to $10,000. But on an individual case by case basis, we will look at what your needs are, and then talk about that as an organization. So our leadership will talk about it with you. We might perhaps have a meeting together to look at what your needs are. But again, overall blanket guidelines, it's from $500 to $10,000.
Okay, there's a question from Marie.
Huh?
Are there any existing programs that help applicants write grants?
Existing programs, yes. I don't want to say there are a ton, but we recently in January had Choice Words Ithaca. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Choice Words Ithaca, who helps individuals write grants. So I would say go back and watch that video. It was one of our Let's Talk programs. Watch that video. There are a ton of resources online. I know the Tompkins Chamber, they have different workshops and they might have recordings of it. But there is information out there. And additionally, if you'd like to meet with me, you have that option as well. So we can bounce ideas off of each other. We can talk, we can collaborate, find ways to strengthen your application, but come with questions. I'm not going to write your application for you, and I'm not going to answer the questions for you, but I will work with you to answer these questions. Also, I will meet with you if you need someone to review your application. I will gladly review your application. However, get that application to me ahead of time. 1 week ahead of time, give me time to review the application. And then in that meeting, we'll talk about, feedback and such. So really quick, I want to show you the platform where you will make appointments with me. So here's the technical stuff again. Share screen. Does everyone see that? Okay, so it's at calendly.com/my name, Jikwaku. And this is the home screen. You can either do a collaboration session or you can do an application review. So if you click on the collaboration session, dates will come up. Okay, so you'll pick, let's say you want to meet with me tomorrow. These are the available appointments for tomorrow. Let's say you want to meet with me at 4 p.m. You'll confirm. So you'll write your name and email address. And then in this box, you can tell me what you want to talk about. So let's say questions about DEI. Let's say you don't know how to answer your DEI questions effectively and to get your stories across. You'll click whatever information you'd like me to know ahead of time there, and then you'll schedule your event. Here's your confirmation page, and then you'll get an email that shows your confirmation, and then it'll automatically send you a Zoom link, and then that application will be, not application, I'm sorry, I've been talking about applications all day. That appointment will be confirmed with you and with me, and then it'll take that time away. Well, interesting, I just said that, so I need to cancel that one so that that appointment is available for other people. But that is how you connect with me, one of two ways. So lots of resources out there. Make sure you go and Google. There's good information on Google. There's free workshops out there. Lots of good things available online. But again, use me as a resource. Use me as a resource. I will say that again. Use me as a resource. We want to fund everyone as much money as we can. So use me as a resource.
Hi, Gloria. Can we answer one more question?
Okay, we are 8 minutes over, but sure. One more question.
It's from Lisa. And the
Okay.
question is, when we submit a budget, do you want to see both the budget for the project or which we are requesting funds and the total annual operating budget?
So we ask for your budgeted revenue, budgeted expenses, and then we want to know where all of your other money is coming from. So what other entities have you requested money from? What other sources, where are your sources of income coming from? And that's really all we want to know. So we don't want spreadsheets. We're tired of
We don't
spreadsheets.
want the whole thing.
We
Got
don't
it.
want the whole shebang.
Right, good, thank you.
We don't want to stress you out. It's a huge
Thank you.
barrier.
I
We
appreciate
don't
it.
want to stress you out. We can get all of that information on a phone call with you from our
Got it.
review team members. So
Got
they'll
it.
talk about that with you as well. So again, We have adjusted our process with you in mind. Know that. All right. So we're at 1:09 and it's 9 minutes over our time. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us, everyone, for being with us on this call. I've enjoyed your company. Judy, it's good to see you.